So, any of you in the room today have a chance at winning a Mari license for free. So please scan the QR code if you want. I'll also bring it back up at the end of the talk, so if you want to scan it then you can. And now I'm just going to show you, if everyone, let me know when you're ready. Okay, so now I'm just going to put the Foundry trailer. Okay, so everyone's here today for Get Smart with Mari. So basically we're going to look at how to create smart materials and reuse them in Mari. And if you were at the talk before, which was about Game of Thrones and crowns, this is a great segue because all the dragons in Game of Thrones or House of Dragons were textured in Mari. So just to give you a bit of background about myself, so I'm a VFX content creator and producer working at Foundry. So I work in the learning content team, so I make tutorials, videos for the new release of Nuke and Mari. And before that, I was a VFX compositor working in the industry, and before that, even a CG generalist. And now for the last 2.5 years, I've been working at Foundry, and these last few months, I've been obsessed with smart materials in Mari. And I'm hoping I'm going to get you guys obsessed as well. So, first of all, just for people that don't know what smart materials or smart masks are, I'm going to do a little quick preamble. So for those who do know, then you know it's going to be quick, and we're going to get to the interesting part afterwards. And then we're going to look at how to make one together in Mari, and then why they're so freaking powerful, and I think all of you should give it a go. And then last but not least, we have a pre-launch reveal. I'm not going to say what it is straight away, so you're going to have to wait until the end to see what that is. And so, before that actually, I don't know if you guys have seen the Mari 7.1 overview video, so I'm just going to do the last video before I start. So it has a bunch of new features and tools which were released. So yeah. Okay, so you've seen a bunch of new features, and note, really importantly, we're really trying to push smart materials this year and smart masks in Mari. So before I start, can I get a quick raise of hands of who knows about smart materials? Okay, so quite a few of you. And out of those people, who knows that smart materials have been in Mari for the last 6 years? Yep, it has been 6 years that it's been in the software. So that's why I'm doing this presentation today, because a lot of students don't know that smart materials exist in Mari. So to start, so what are smart materials and masks? So basically, the materials and masks, which are smart because they use bake maps, which are geometry-driven maps, which basically allow you to drive where your textures go. So you can use it for dirt, grime, rust, weathering effects, loads of different things. And there's a tutorial, which I made a few months ago. I think it was around 6 months ago. But basically, it tells you how to create and how to share and create your own smart material. And it's the one in yellow, the Smart Machinery Paint. And you can even download it on the Foundry website under the Learn tab. And this is a really good introduction. So if you guys want to check it out, you can. Today, we're going to go in a lot more depth. This one's just more introductory. So here we have an example of a smart material in Mari. So we have this boot, which has some smart levers. This was just a quick smart material that I made to show you guys today. So you can change the lever pattern, the hue of the color, and we're doing it all through sliders, which we've added ourselves inside the group node. In the group node is a complex nodal system. You just can't see it yet, but I'm going to go into it in a few seconds. So yeah, this is just a quick preamble, just so we're on the same page and we know what smart materials are. So first of all, to define a smart material, it's a material. And a material in Mari is a group of nodes that defines what your material is going to look like. And you have different channels. So you have the base color, which is up there, so the color diffuse. And then you have the metalness, which defines if your object is going to be metallic or not. And then you have more niche channels like subsurface scattering, which is more for like skin and wax, and then specular and roughness. So if you have something that's just shiny, you can do it with those channels, and then displacement and bumps, so for depth and cavity. So if you have scratches or, I don't know, anything which has volume, you can do it through those channels. And so smart materials, if you have a look at them, so the Smart Machinery Paint material you can see over there. So it's a group node, it has its own sliders, and if you go inside of it, you can see that it's made out of its own smart materials, and those smart materials have their own nodes and complex nodal system as well. And they have their own sliders and everything like that, and they're all controlled by smart masks, which in turn have their own sliders as well. So here if we go in the still material, we can see how it's been composed, and you can see it's got a bunch of other things working. And here we have the ambient occlusion map, which is being used to add dirt and grime. Ooh, and another interesting tutorial which came out recently is smart masks in Mari. So this smart guy created 50 plus new smart masks in Mari for the latest release. So if you open up Mari 7.1, it will all be there. You just need to go in the shelf on the Mari interface, and you'll find all its beautiful work. And he breaks down how he made it. It's quite technical, but it's really interesting. So yeah, it just shows you how he made them from scratch. So we can see a smart mask in use. So here it's the dirt noise one. I wasn't really using it for noise. I was just using it to create some snow. So it means you can do anything you want with them. You can enter them, enter the groups, start changing the nodes around, bring in bits from other smart masks into another smart mask. You can do whatever you want. Here I'm just using a flat color. I'm not really using a material to show it off, but you could use a material to get something even more awesome. And here we can see the dirt noise, so how it's been made. So we've got the group node up here, which will have its own sliders. And then you can see that the smart mask is different to a smart material because it only has one channel, which is in black and white because it's the alpha. So it basically tells the material where it needs to go on the asset. And you can see it's using a normal bake map to drive where it goes. And then you can add a custom mask if you want to break up that noise, fall off. And you can add any nodes you want in it. You can add a hue shift and then add that to your smart material if you want as well. Okay, so here you can see some smart masks which were created. So here's some dust specky stuff, and with its own sliders, and then you have one which is more like a spill. Here you could literally create your own material, which is paint, if you wanted some really thick paint which is dripping down the cape. Here it's just a flat color. But yeah, you can't really see with it's a bit dark, but it's just like a wine stain or something. But yeah, just going to fast forward it a little. And they're all using different maps. So you have the curvature map, the ambient occlusion, position map, normal map. So they do plenty of different things. So here, curvature, if you want to have edge wear along the edges, and you can see how it's been made. So we have the curvature here. I don't know if you can see my mouse, no, you can't see it. But yeah, cool stuff. Here's some sand, some oil leak. So yeah, you can do everything you want. And here are the 50+ smart masks, which were added in 7.1. There's everything you need to texture. And I'm nearly finished with the preamble, then we'll get to the interesting stuff. So baking, what is baking? So that's how you get your ambient occlusion, curvature maps, etc., etc. So basically, when you create a character, for example. So this character here was created by a really talented artist called John Salim. You can actually see his breakdown. He made a making-of video of how he created it in Mari, etc. But basically, when you have a character, you'll first model it in high details with the wrinkles, all the fine details. And basically, when we bring it back into other software, so LookDev and all that, texturing, we want the file to be as light as possible. So we're going to bake all those fine details on a low-res geometry. So it's called a topology when you change it from that to that. And so there's two benefits to baking. So it reduces the file size, but then you can also use the bake maps to drive where your textures are going to go. So it's two birds with one stone, I think is the expression. Anyway. So here you've got the baking. You can bake now in Mari. It's one of the fastest bakers out there. So you can choose your channels, ambient occlusion, curvature, everything you want. High res goes on the low res, so you just import the specific ones. You can change the tweaks and parameters, preview it, and then I'm just going to take the geochannel to create a geochannel. And then if you go in the node graph, press tab, create a geochannel. You can then switch between all the different maps you want to use. So the different maps you get, ambient occlusion, curvature, I feel like those are the ones everyone knows. And then you've got position and normal. So ambient occlusion, you can use it, all the black is basically the cavities of your geo, so you can use that for dirt and grime. And then you've got curvature for edge wear. Position and normal are often confused, but they're very different. So position takes into account the height of your object. So if you want to isolate the head of your asset, or the feet, if you wanted to do muds, you can do that. And then the normal takes into account the orientation of the geometry. So it could be the top of your foot, the top of your knee, it could be anything you want for like snow and stuff like that. Okay. And then thickness for wax, displacement, to add more details. So now, the interesting part, let's create a smart material together. So here I've got a leather material. So I've used it for this boot over here. I need to press play. Okay. So you can see the boot, and it's got a bunch of sliders. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to extract everything which is leather. So just wait a second. There we go. So here I created a smart material, which is smart leather. Now I'm going to click on it. Come on. Okay, and now you can see all the sliders. I have an overall scale, which is really useful when you're bringing a smart material onto another asset, which might be 10 times bigger. You can scale it up or scale it down. And the smart material is made of different materials. So you've got the leather, which has its own sliders. It's a smart material. And then you also have, so here, yeah, I can change the color, how shiny the shoe is, etc., etc. And then we have the edge wear, and then the noise, which is added on top. There we go. And then all of these materials are being driven by the smart masks, which have their own sliders as well. And you can change the shelf items which have been put there. change whatever you want. You can go inside the node and add some parameters to appear on the group level. You can see what it looks like in black and white. Okay, and if you look at inside the materials, you can see how they've been made. So they're very simple. Then there's the edgeware material, even more simple. And then if you look inside the smart mask, because it's only one channel in black and white, it has one output. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to create the first material, which is leather. So we're going to create it together, and I'm going to show you how to get all those beautiful sliders at the top of your asset. So if you press Tab on your keyboard, type material, you can create one. And then I just use Principal BRDF. But if you have an Arnold renderer, maybe you choose the Arnold shader. And then, as you can see, we've got all the channels from earlier, so color base, roughness, etc., etc. I usually just start with the color base and with a quick cloud node to get something quickly, to get a bit of texture there. So I'm just adding it. And I'm just going to reduce the scale, because it's really too big right now. There we go. And then I'm just going to choose the two main colors of the material, of the leather material. And then once that's done, I can add those sliders to the top level of the group. And to do this, 2 seconds. Okay, so if we zoom in, you can see I'm clicking on the wrench icon for all the parameters I want to see on the group level. And now, if we go back to the node graph and we go outside of the group, you can see they've all been added on the group level. So this is really useful if you create a really complex smart material, if you're a very technical artist, and you're giving that smart material to a more junior or maybe more creative artist, and they only have to look at the sliders, they don't have to go inside if they don't want to. And so now I'm just doing the roughness of the leather. So again, I'm just going to use a cloud node. I haven't used it yet, but wait. So there you can see the roughness quickly. I'm adding a cloud node to add a bit of detail to the roughness, and then merging it back on top to then reduce it if I want. And then if I click on the wrench icon next to a mount, which is up there, well, here I'm just multiplying it on top. Then afterwards, if I click on the wrench icon, click on the wrench icon, then it will add it to the group level. And so then I'm just tweaking the shoe until I get something I like. I've added a few more tweaks like hue shift and brightness lookup. So if you want to add contrast, change the color of the shoe, you can afterwards from the group level. And now I'm just adding a procedural node, so a cellular pattern, because leather is skin at the end of the day. So I'm just creating that leather pattern, which is going to be multiplied on top. And then just adding it on top with a merge node. And then I can change the amount here, add it on the group sliders for later use. And then just creating the bump node, again here, using the cellular node. Adding a merge node so we can then change the opacity later on. And we can rename it. If you click on P, actually, at the top over here, is it there? Yeah. You can then change the name of your sliders as well. So you can make it easier for someone to understand if they get your smart material, if you're sharing it. So now that I've done the leather, I'm going to do the edgeware, which is going to be a very similar process, as they are both materials. But to do that, I can't use a normal merge because it's multi-channel, as is different maps, so roughness, metalness, etc. So I'm just going to use a multi-channel merge, and then create the edgeware material. Okay. So if I rename it afterwards, so I can find it easier later on. I mean, there's not that many materials in this group, so I don't think it'd be too hard to find. But if you had a really big project, like you're working on a dragon or stuff like that with multiple teammates, It's easy for things to get lost, so it's quite good to name. So here again, I'm using a cloud node to define the two colors of the edgeware. So edgeware is basically leather that's been so used and damaged that it's extremely rough, and it's probably going to be a lighter color than the actual clean leather itself. So I'm just making it extra rough. And then adding those wrench icons so that the sliders appear on the group level. And then I'm just creating a cloud node for the bump, make it extra rough, extra spiky, so that it looks like it's been really worn out. So here you can see it's very spiky. Okay, and now I'm going to create the smart mask. So this is the first smart mask we're creating. Before it was called custom procedural, so if you can't find it, it's because it's been changed to smart mask. So if you go in your tab, you can find smart mask node. And if you go in it, after attaching it in the mask input, you can see that unlike the group material, smart material, it only has one channel. So this is the output. And now we can start using our bake maps. So curvature, occlusion, all that. In this instance, I haven't baked my maps yet, so I'm just going to bake them. So the ones I need. Then once that's been done, open a GeoChannel, choose the curvature map because it's edgeware. So we want all the edgeware material to go on the edges. So we need to also change the curvature so it works for what we want to do. So here, for instance, we'd want all the white areas to be brighter. So we really have the edges isolated. And then everything that isn't the edges blacked out. So here we're doing that. And this is what we're getting. Right now, the edgeware is very uniform, so we're just going to add a bit of breakup. On top, using a tiled node and selecting a mask that we want. And all those can be added as sliders as well by clicking on the wrench icon. And voila. Oh, and then once you're happy with the material, you can export it. So to export a smart material, what you'd do is you'd click on the material that you want to export. So here, for example, it's the leather material. And then if you go in the Export tab, you can define the export path and the thumbnail path. So you can take a quick snipping tool image to create your thumbnail. So here I'm just choosing the path to export it to. And then if I just use the snipping tool in Windows to create the thumbnail, I can then save it where I want to. And then once that's done, you can add tags. So you can add leather, shoe, stuff like that. And so then when you're looking through your shelf later on, you can just type leather and it will appear at the top of your shelf. And once you've clicked on the export material, just drag and drop your smart material into your shelf and it will be there for later use. Another thing you can do with smart materials, if I just run through it really quickly, is you can use your smart utilities, so 2D placement and 3D placement, to create an overall scale. So I'm just trying to find the moment where I show how to use that. So here we can see, if you look up close, this one's a 3D placement smart utility and a 2D placement smart utility. So those ones, when you feed them into Teleport Broadcaster, and then run them throughout your project and attach them to tiled nodes or procedural nodes through the position input, you can then control the overall scale from these two nodes up here. So it's really useful when you're sharing your asset and they have a geometry which is 10 times bigger, then they can change the scale. And here, if you click on P afterwards, you can group certain sliders together. So for example, if you wanted you wanted a slider for U and V offset together, you could attach them together using the link node. So that's what I'm showing here, but I'm just going to speed it up because we've got a lot to cover. Okay, so now why are smart materials so freaking powerful in Mari? So, as I said before, you can have a material within a material within a material, and that material can have its own smart masks, like a smart mask in a smart mask in a smart mask. So it's extremely scalable in Mari because you can handle really heavy files. And you can add as many parameters and sliders as you want. All these smart materials are openable, so you can open them up, tweak them, add sliders where you need them, and do whatever you want. And it's all nodal based, which means it's easier to iterate, share, and scale. For example, because it's nodal based, you can easily organize it, add backdrop nodes, move different parts of your node graph to different locations, so that someone that's inheriting a project can see where everything is. We also have the layer stack, but when working on big projects, it's really hard to work with the layer stack because everything can get lost quite quickly, especially if you're working with a big team. We had a talk at FMX by Claudia, who was the lead texturer at Pixamundo working on House of Dragons, and they were talking about how Mari was really indispensable because of how scalable it is. And if you look at the dragon, like one of the dragons, the main dragons had like 250 UDIMs in Mari, and each UDIM, which is basically a UV patch, is like 2 to 8K. So times 250, it's absolutely insane. And so having a nodal-based software when working with teams is just really much easier to organize the work. It's non-destructive and procedural. So if you make a change, if you add some nodes right at the beginning, make some changes, and then go back at the end of your creation to the first step, it's not going to destroy what you made afterwards. It's procedural, so if you bring it onto another asset, it won't have any problems. And a new feature we've added in 7.1 is the switch node. So if you have variations, so like let's say you have a robot which is textured in different appearances, so you've got the sporty model, etc., and you could also use this for sequence-based textures. So for example, if you had like a chair that became more and more used throughout the film, let's say, you could have a chair which is textured for each sequence, and then the artist would just have to choose between the sequence variations to choose which one is for their shot. And here I have an example of using on the machine you paint. So if we look at the underlying base of machine paints, it's a metal. So we've got steel, and then we've got some bronze. So I just want to be able to switch between both of them from outside of the group. So I'm just adding a switch node, changing the inputs. So bronze, steel, and then it's added that variation in the drop-down. And that drop-down, we can also add it to a group level with the wrench icon. Boop. And now on the group level, it has appeared magically. Another thing is, with smart materials, for example, here you have an extremely complex setup, which was probably made by a really technical artist. And if I got this smart material, I would have no idea what's going on. So the fact of having sliders, which basically tell you what's going on, and you don't have to go inside the node, is extremely useful. So it means that someone that's extremely technical can create those things, and then someone inheriting it, which is more creative, just has those different sliders to play with and doesn't need to understand whatever's going on. It's great for consistency in texture and look. So if you're all working on the same dragon, let's say your lead texture, I don't know, creates a smart material for you guys to use for your dragon. You could all basically start from the same smart material on your assets. So if some people are working on the tail of the dragon or the head of the dragon, they can all start from the same base. And then you can mix and match elements from different smart materials to create your own, even better custom versions. If you like something in one smart material, you can take it out, copy-paste, and bring it to your smart material. And last but not least, so this is the reveal. So it's a new platform just for you guys. You can upload, download, anything you want to it. So it's for smart materials, smart masks, and smart utilities. So that's the first step, and then as a second step, we're going to add loads of other things like plugins, gizmos, project templates, HDRIs, meshes, everything you'd need for texturing. And if you want, you can contribute to the platform and be among the first credited on it. There's also going to be a launch trailer So if anyone wants to show off one of their smart materials on one asset that they made in the past, so let's say you made a dragon and you want to show off a smart dragon material, you could make a video of that and we can show it off in the release trailer. So your name will be in lights and it's great exposure, and if you have time, it could be a good project. And at the end of the day, this is your platform, so if you have any feature requests, any ideas, please let us know. You can shoot us a message on LinkedIn, or even better, we have the Discord community. I don't know if you guys know the Mari Discord community, but it's really useful. You've got Mari Chat, Mari News, Mari Polls. We often have polls asking what new features you want, and if you have any bugs or UI problems. The whole Mari support team is on Mari Discord, so you can literally ask them and they'll answer. And then, my favorite, the Foundry sharing platform. So that is not the platform which is going to be released. It's pre-launch, so if you want to upload some smart materials to share with the community, you can do it on the Discord as a first step. And here's the QR code if you want to join it. So yeah. And again, the QR code if you want to win a Mari subscription. If you haven't taken a photo yet, you can do it now. And then a little ad promo for Mari. Here you can get Mari for 30 days. 50% off Mari at the moment. And Education Collective. So if you're students, you can get a really discounted price for Mari. So go ahead if you want. And it's on the website. You don't need the QR code. And voila. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'm just going to put this QR code in case anyone hasn't done it. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions? Brilliant. Well, I hope you enjoyed your talk, and yeah, I hope you get onto Mari and smart materials. Thank you so much.